afternoon and thank you very much for joining us on KTN Newsdesk on this 30th day of March 2016. My name is Akisa Wandera. Now, former chairman of the Law Society of Kenya, Eric Mutua, has asked the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission to consider holding a joint verification of Okoa Kenya signatures with a team from CORD in order to counter speculations by CORD that it is working alongside the Jubilee government to frustrate the Okoa Kenya initiative. In an interview at Mwangi town, Eric Mutua said that CORD should be allowed to form a committee and be allowed to access the documents containing the signatures in order to ascertain whether the findings by the IEBC are true or not.
For Kenyans to understand and appreciate the process, it is very critical that there be a further authentication of whether indeed those other signatures were not genuine, or whether indeed those other persons who petitioned do not appear in the registers. I think the way to go is to probably get a team from Okoa Kenya to be given access to all those documents to verify what IEBC is saying. Unless you get a team to go and peruse all those documents and establish whether the findings by IEBC is genuine or not, then we'll always have a question as a country whether or not indeed what we are being told by IEBC is correct.
And we do not believe that all those signatures and the names which they were supposed to verify, because what they were supposed to do is to look at the names which were there and the signatures and verify whether those people were in the register. And we don't believe a whooping over 700 people who are in those registers were not in the register as they said. But that's
Now, an order by the county government of Nairobi to revoke parking licenses of matatus within the CBD was not honored as matatu crews engaged in running battles with county askaris. The crew have vowed not to obey the orders that requires them to vacate the CBD immediately. At one point, the matatu crew overpowered the askaris, forcing them to retreat as the matatu crew continued with their work. All matatu parking licenses have been revoked by the Nairobi County government following numerous complaints from the business community on the unruliness of the public service vehicles. Business owners in the city centre had threatened not to pay rates to the county government, citing that it had failed to control the rogue matatus that block business entrances. A grief has engulfed Gwakungu village in Daragwa division of Nyandarua North Sub-County after a 12-year-old girl was beheaded by an assailant who was later lynched by angry residents. The minor was allegedly raped before the assailant slashed her several times inside a house. It was reported that the Class 5 pupil at Kagonda Primary School had just returned home from a nearby river where she'd gone to fetch water when the incident occurred. Her mother was at the farm and the residents later lynched the suspect.
Kwangu nyumbani kama nimetoka, sikuwa nasikia mwili mzuri, lakini baada ya hiyo madakika nikaona mtu amecross karibu na kwangu wa kivita na alikuwa anakimbia. Sasa baada ya dakika kidogo nasikia duru pale ameua mtoto, na wakati mimi nimekimbia pale, watoto tunakutana naye wakikuja kwangu na kuniambia mtoto wao ameuawa. Kiniambia mtoto wao ameuawa. Sasa wakati mimi nimekimbia pale naye watu wamepiga duru, watu wamekuwa wengi, nikawaambia waachaneni na duru, kimbilieni pande kwanza mshike mwenye amemuua kwa sababu ameingilia karibu na kwangu. Sasa ndio wamefuatana na yeye, wanaume wakakimbia kabisa, wakakimbia mpaka pale wamemshikia hapo chini. Lakini sasa kumshikia pale chini alikuwa na damu tu kwa mwili yake yote. Nguo yake yote ilikuwa damu kwa sababu alikuwa ameng'ang'ana na ile mtoto wakati anamkatakata.
Ni mambo ya kuchangaza sana kuona kweli mtu mzima anaweza chukua kisu achinje mtoto kama mbuzi, na sana inaonekana huyo mtoto alikuwa amemuribu. Mimi nimeshangaa kama kiongozi na nimeonelea inafaa serikali yetu ichukue jukumu. Upande ya security inaonekana inatakikana sana sana, sababu hiyo mambo inaonekana inafanywa ni watu ambaye si wazee sana na ni watu wa karibu. Ningeomba serikali iwekere maanane juu ya hii nyumba 10. Nyumba 10 ipewe nguvu, sababu hiyo inaweza tusaidia kujua mmoja wetu, sababu hii inaonekana ni vijana na vijana wanajuana. Ili nao vijana wakuwe na moraro ya kufanya hii kazi ya nyumba 10. Ili mambo ya kufanya hii mambo chafu tuone kama itakwicha katika kijiji yetu.
Watu wasinzie, waombe, sababu kuna shida na kuna hatari. Mambo ya security tunauliza serikali. Huyu mtoto si wa kwanza, si wa pili. Hata yule mwingine aliuawa last week. Mtoto wa miaka 8. Atazikwa kesho Wednesday. Tunauliza watakufa wangapi ili serikali ishukue jukumu ya kuja na kuona ile kazi inafanyika na kujua watoto watauawa wangapi. Kama watu wamereport, wana suspects, hawa watu wanaenda kotini, wanaashiriwa. Na mimi najiuliza, hii ni katiba aina gani tulitafuta? Sababu ni sisi wenyewe tulitafuta. Mtu muuaji anaenda kotini, anaashiriwa na ameua. Mimi ningeomba serikali, mtu ambaye akiua tunaambiwa tusichukue hatua mkononi mwetu. But mtu anaashiriwa, what will be the next move? Hiyo ndio dawa tu. Kama watu wamefika mwisho, wamekasirika, na sasa ile imebaki ni yule anapatikana uawe.
And now let's join our reporter Michelle Ngele live from the KICC, where the education conference on curriculum development is being held. Michelle, what are the latest development from the conference? Is it complete, and what's going on as of now?
Good afternoon, Akisa. We're currently in the second session of the National Conference for Curriculum Reforms taking place here at KICC. We have over 500 delegates from across the continent, curriculum development experts who are here today to discuss a new curriculum that is being proposed by the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, a new system that is likely to replace the current 844 system. And the discussions today are based on proposals that were forwarded by a task force that was converged in the year 2012 to review the 844 process, which is largely being deemed unfit for learners who are unable to adapt to the ever-changing job and career environments. And that is the reason that the KICD is now proposing a new curriculum. And we've had several of the delegates speak of the experiences from their country. We did speak to the former Minister for Education from Zimbabwe, and notably in Akisa, he told us that the future jobs of the country are yet to be created, and it is upon the government to then premeditate on what those jobs are likely to be, and then arm learners with the skills and competencies possible to be able to create those jobs in future. And so this new curriculum that is being proposed is a 2-6-3-3 system that will see learners spend more time in less time in primary school and more time in secondary school, which is a complete opposite of the 844 system. Important to note, however, that this is just the discussion process, and in July this year we will be able to take a full look at the national policy for the new curriculum, which is currently being developed by the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development as well as other policy makers. Now, in the first session we had Education CS Fred Matiang'i and Deputy President William Ruto, who was the guest of honor, standing in place of President Uhuru Kenyatta, who could not make it here today. And the Deputy President did actually note that Kenya's education system, the current education system, is quite an outdated one, and we need to keep in line with 21st century skills of learning. Unfortunately, Akisa, we're not able to speak live to some of these delegates right now because they are engaged in a panel discussion, if you can see behind me, but we'll be speaking to them a bit later. Joining us now, however, is a student from St. George's Primary School. Her name is Okia. She did give quite a heartfelt speech earlier on in the first part. Now, Okia, tell us, what are your grievances, or maybe what do you think of the current 844 system?
For me, I think it's too heavy, too long, boring, because you from study 1 to 8 or from nursery up to 8, you'll be repeating the same thing in the classes, so it makes you tired. But it's very tiresome, and then it's not equipping you with the talents that will help you in future.
Now, this new curriculum that is being proposed is going to be very hands-on and offering students skills. Are you excited about that?
Completely, I'm really excited about it. First, my aim is that we will have concepts that will fix that to the global village, and then that is online learning, and then I will also be happy if that we children are engaged in the decision making concerning us, and also giving us platforms that we could express our views and give our views that we think what we think is good for us and what is bad for us. That's
Thank you so much. That is Okia from St. George's Primary School speaking to us about what she hopes to see in the new 26333 system. Now, Akisa, this is where we will end. But remember, the 844 system was meant to be a practical one to offer students practical skills. And when it began, they did in fact have agriculture and other, practical education such as home science and woodwork, many of which were phased out in the year 2002 when a review was done on the curriculum. And so now students are mostly learning on theory in mathematics and science and English. There are really no skills that are being equipped for our students. And so we'll be waiting to see this policy framework that will be unveiled in July later this year. Akisa.
Now, Michelle, before I let you go, of course we have most of the delegates vouching for the new system, but do we have some who are against it?
Come again, Akisa?
We definitely have those who are vouching for the new 2663 system, but do we have delegates in attendance at the conference who are opposed to a change of the curriculum?
Absolutely not, Akisa. Remember, this curriculum reforms comes 32 years after the last curriculum reform was took place in the country, and that's when the 844 system came in place. The Constitution actually provides for a curriculum review every 5 years, and this hasn't been done in the last 32 years. Important to note, however, is there is a difference between a curriculum review and curriculum reforms, and the curriculum reform that is being discussed here today is actually being supported by all the curriculum experts who are here today, because they say African countries, the education system really is not in line with 21st century learning skills, and so many countries need to embrace that.
Thank you very much. That is our reporter Michelle Ngele joining us from BKICC, where there is an ongoing education conference on curriculum reforms. And as Michelle reports, most of the delegates are vouching for curriculum reform to get into the 2663 system as opposed to the 844 system that is said to be bloated, and that is something we will be looking to see how it goes on. Michelle Ngele continues to keep us updated on the same in our subsequent bulletins. But moving on, former Foreign Affairs Minister Thuita Mwangi and 2 other former officials of the Foreign Affairs Ministry have been acquitted of corruption charges relating to the 2010 Tokyo Embassy scandal. The court ruled that the prosecution failed to prove that the 3 were criminally responsible for the fraudulent purchase of the Chancery and the embassy building in Tokyo at an inflated price of 1.5 billion shillings. Murimi Mwangi now reports.
Exhibit 32.
6 years after a probe revealed that close to 75 million shillings had been lost in the controversial Tokyo scandal, former Foreign Affairs PS Thuita Mwangi and former Kenyan ambassador to Japan Alan Waweru, and the deputy director of administration in the embassy at the time Anthony Mwaneki, are now free men.
From the valuer's point of view, the embassy...
After a magistrate court in Nairobi ruled that the 3 were not criminally responsible for the scandal, where the Chancery and the embassy building were purchased at double the market price at the time. The 3 were hauled to court after a probe revealed that the embassy officials allegedly chose to purchase the building at 1.5 billion shillings from a private seller, double the price offered by the Japanese government at the time. The scandal saw the then Minister for Foreign Affairs Moses Wetangula stepped down for 10 months before being reinstated on the coalition government's cabinet. Muremi Mwangi, KTN News, Nairobi.
Now, the Director of Public Prosecutions, Keriako Tobiko, now says his office is facing serious human capacity problems. Tobiko, who is currently before the National Assembly Justice Committee, says he needs 41 million shillings in the supplementary budget to hire external prosecution lawyers. Let us now join our reporter, Patrick Amimo, from the Parliament buildings for details on how serious this particular problem being mentioned by the DPP is. Patrick, you have been covering the DPP before the Justice Committee. What are some of the challenges he says he is experiencing in his office?
Oh, thank you. This is the time of the year when various government or state agencies come for seek a supplementary budget to clear off some of those pending bills or activities that were unforeseen but which have exceeded the budget requisitions. So this particular provision where the DPP's office is seeking an extra 41 million shillings is to cover up to June before the entry of the next financial year. And the DPP has come up with a proposal, DPP's office has come up with a proposal seeking 41 million shillings. This is for capacity building, just to hire external lawyers to assist the prosecution. And the members of the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee of the National Assembly have been looking into this particular proposal, raising also their fears, because majority of the members are of the view that the DPP's office should train internal capacity, to build its own internal capacity so that they have their own lawyers other than relying on external lawyers who charge exorbitant fees. And the case in point, members have pointed out, is to do with these external lawyers who are costing huge legal fees. They cited the case of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, which which is appearing before the committee at this particular hour. I'm talking to you is that this particular, like the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, is seeking a further 250 million shillings in supplementary budget as legal fee for external lawyers. And also the members have cited like the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, which is having a budget, an extra cost of budget worth 600 million for the legal services they hired externally. So members are concerned. They want these particular state corporations or agencies to at least start looking ahead and hire their own lawyers instead of depending on external lawyers who are bleeding the state coffers. So it is a matter that the DPP has appeared before this Justice Committee in terms of supplementary budget. The other issue that is the DPP is also has been asking in supplementary budget is to have at least construction of containerized offices in at least in about six locations, and this one will cost is seeking 70. The DPP's office is seeking 73 million shillings for these containerized offices, and the reason they are giving is that there's lack of office space. That's why they are looking for the 40-feet containers to be put in various stations. They've cited such stations like in Meru, there is a station in Shanzu, there is in Kandara, Kangema, Tononoka in Mombasa. They've said also they've at least have constructed the two containerized offices in Nairobi, that's at the Makadara Law Courts and Kibra Law Courts. So this is one area where also members have expressed concern because they think having containerized offices in this era when Kenya is almost for over 50 years of independence, having state officers officed in containerized offices, that shows there is a backward trend, and they were suggesting whether it would be possible to have even prefabricated offices and or just normal modern houses or offices built up for those officers. So these are the issues that the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee is looking at various state agencies on this.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Patrick, for that report. That is our reporter, Patrick Amimo, joining us from the Parliament buildings, where the Director of Public Prosecutions, Keriako Tobiko, is currently before the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, where he says that his docket needs 41 million shillings to help get more people to work in. But moving on, or more staff. But moving on, legislators affiliated to the opposition coalition CORD have threatened to boycott President Uhuru Kenyatta's State of the Nation address to Parliament tomorrow. The legislators argue that the annual presidential address to Parliament has been reduced to a ritual with no substance, hence no need of attending the function. However, their rivals in the ruling Jubilee coalition led by Majority Leader Aden Duale in the National Assembly have defended the scorecard of the Jubilee administration, arguing that it has at least accomplished 70% of the promises made during the 2013 general elections.
The President is going to talk about how he's fulfilling the Article 10 of the Constitution on national values. The President will look at how he is dealing with the national security. The President will also give a scorecard of his achievement as Jubilee. It's a midterm scorecard. And finally, the President will talk about his engagement with the international community.
Going back to our top story, a key education conference that could determine the new curriculum is underway in Nairobi. The conference brings together over 500 stakeholders, and Deputy President William Ruto officially opened the conference this morning.
Our children will be as good as the education that we give them. And naturally, society is as good as the children we bring up. And that is why this conversation is very important, because it's about our present, it's about our children, it's about our future. When we wrote the Jubilee Manifesto, a very important component was our desire to relook at our education system. I am very proud this morning that we are executing one of the items that we listed. And we have been working over the last 3 years to try and reshape our education. We're all aware that the National Qualification Framework that creates the balance between formal education and technical education is now backed by law. You're also aware that we have been working to reverse what Professor Kane has said about the balance between the arts and the sciences. I remember when we were the ministry professor, we had a big argument that we have filled our university classrooms with thousands of students, and we are teaching them when Vasco da Gama arrived in Mombasa. And very few of those students can fix a lamp when it goes off. And that debate really must inform where we are going, the relevance of our education. And this initiative, this platform, this reform process, I am very confident will give us the desired results. I have already seen indications from the presentations that have been made here that we have the problem on site, and I don't think we will miss it. We have the target. We know what we need to do.
Well, that address by Deputy President